Hi friends, today's tarot pick a card reading is all about what's shifting and changing in your career path right now. Have you been feeling like your career is on the edge of a shift, but you're not sure which way things are moving? We're doing a special pick a card reading today to uncover what's shifting, changing, or opening up in your career path right now. If you are new to pick a card readings, here's how it works. The first thing that you're going to do here is you are going to pick the pile or the crystal that you are the most intuitively drawn to. So we have pile 1 here with a piece of flower agate. We have pile 2 here with rose quartz. We have pile 3 with selenite. And we have pile 4 here with lapis lazuli. If you need more time to choose, please pause the video, but when you're ready, you can choose one pile, you can choose more than one pile, or you can choose all of them. It is totally up to you. But when you're ready, go to the description of this video, find the timestamp that is linked to your pile, and then you can skip ahead to your reading. Thank you so much for letting me read for you, friends. It is always such an honor and a privilege, and I will see you on the inside. Hi pile 1, hey friends, welcome to your reading. Let's first talk about the current energy. Let's talk about what's happening now. We'll set the stage and describe your current career vibe. We have the Page of Pentacles here, and this represents a fresh start. It can talk about curiosity and making steady progress. I feel like this is the card that represents the student of the material world, because the pages in the tarot are representative of being a student, a learner. So maybe you're someone who is eager to learn or experiment and build. In your career, I feel like this card reminds you that you're either beginning a new phase or you're redefining what success means to you. So I really do feel like you're laying down the first brick towards something long term. Maybe it's something like a new project or a financial goal or a skill. I also think that this is a reminder to ground your dreams into action steps. The focus here is on consistency and this willingness to learn, and not about falling into perfectionism. So for example, maybe some of you here might be taking some sort of new online course or certification or learning skill that will enhance your career and your business income. Maybe some of you here could be starting a side hustle or a small business or a new role where you're still in training, but you're excited to grow. Maybe some of you here are reassessing your financial habits. Maybe you're tracking your income and your expenses. Maybe you're setting small goals, or you're planning more intentionally for long-term rewards. We also have anchoring in, energy medicine, body temple, vibrational healing. This reminds you that your body is your foundation for success. I feel like you're being called to root your energy and to reconnect with your physical and your emotional and your energetic well-being. This is your call to ground yourself when you're scattered or you're anxious, because it becomes harder to manifest steady results when you're feeling all over the place. So I think the message here is that your body is the temple where your work is birthed. Ground your ideas in rituals, rest, and things like nourishment so that your energy can sustain your growth. Maybe some of you here want to create a grounding routine before work, whether this is stretching or meditation or walking outdoors to set your energy. Maybe some of you here are healing from burnout by improving your sleep or your hydration or your diet so that your vibration stays high and consistent. Maybe some of you here will be working on decluttering your workspace or digital environment to create the sense of calm focus and alignment. Next, let's talk about the shift or change incoming. Let's reveal the upcoming movement or transition for you. We have the 10 of Wands here, and with this, it marks the end of a heavy chapter. Maybe you feel like you've been doing too much. Maybe you've been carrying responsibilities that don't all belong to you. And so this shift is all about delegation and release and lightening your load. I feel like you're moving from overwork to smarter, more balanced work. I think that this change often comes when you realize that continuing to do everything by yourself and alone is something that blocks that next level of abundance. And so the shift here requires releasing any sort of obligations that drain you so that you can redirect your energy into what truly matters. So maybe some of you here are going to let go of clients or tasks or commitments that aren't worth the stress or the low pay or the energy drain. Maybe some of you here are going to be hiring help, maybe a virtual assistant or an editor or an accountant, so that you can ease your workload and prevent burnout. I can also see some of you here reworking your daily schedule to prioritize only income generating or soul aligned activities, or something that moves the needle closer to your why, if that makes sense. So we also have the Garden of Wealth here. To me, this symbolizes growth through patience and care. It's all about cultivating abundance the way that you would tend to a garden, slowly and intentionally, and with love. So I feel like the soil that you're working with, your mindset, your habits, your daily actions, these are the things that will determine what grows. I really think that your hard work is starting to take root. And so you're learning that prosperity thrives when you prune the unnecessary and when you nurture what truly brings value. Maybe some of you here create a more sustainable business model. Maybe you raise your prices and you work fewer hours and you earn more. Maybe some of you here could see tangible rewards from your consistency, like increased sales or new collaborations or growing your social reach. Maybe you begin to approach money as energy, where you spend and you save and you invest with more consciousness and trust. Next, let's get some guidance on how to navigate this shift. We'll give you some actionable advice here. We have the Hanged Man in reverse. So with this, I feel like it's a message to stop waiting for the perfect moment and to take action based on what you've already learned. Maybe some of you here have felt like you've been in limbo, maybe overanalyzing or second guessing or feeling stuck. But the guidance here is to shift your perspective and to release your grip a little bit. This is all about you letting go of trying to control how everything unfolds. And it's asking you to trust that the universe is guiding you towards your next step, even if clarity isn't complete. So maybe some of you here finally make a decision that you've been postponing, maybe applying for a new role or launching a new offer, or maybe even rebranding your business. Maybe some of you here realize that you've outgrown certain beliefs like, I have to struggle to succeed, and you choose to act differently. Maybe some of you here stop waiting for the right sign and you start co-creating results through small, decisive action. We also have Healing Moon, Seek Healing. So this is a call to nurture your emotional and your energetic health. Maybe some of you here are healing from old work patterns, maybe burnout, overgiving, perfectionism, maybe even a fear of failure. So to navigate this shift, I feel like you have to allow yourself to process and release any sort of pain from past experiences that made you doubt your worth or your capabilities. This is your reminder that healing isn't a setback, it's actually this integration phase that restores your inner power. So maybe some of you here take a short break from work or social media to recharge emotionally. Or maybe some of you here engage yourself in journaling or therapy or meditation or yoga to release resentment or exhaustion that's tied to your career stress. Maybe some of you here start forgiving yourself for past mistakes and acknowledge how far you've come. Next, let's talk about the potential outcome and the reward. We have Temperance here. So temperance is all about balance, it's about harmony, and it can also talk about divine timing. This is you integrating lessons from struggle into wisdom. This is you discovering a new rhythm, one that allows you to blend your practical ambitions with your spiritual and emotional needs too. I think that your outcome here is something that's stable. It's very much in flow and it's inner peace. I think that you are going to find yourself managing your energy and your time and your finances a lot more gracefully. And I can see you creating this very sustainable lifestyle. So maybe some of you here create a work-life balance that lets you enjoy success without burnout. Like maybe you get this steady income and you also have that peace of mind. I can also see you finding your sweet spot, maybe combining different passions, like for example, spirituality and entrepreneurship into one aligned path. Maybe some of you here become more patient with your growth and you start to trust your timing instead of rushing your results. We also have awakening, and this is like a representation of your spiritual evolution. I wouldn't be surprised if some of you here had like an aha moment or some sort of epiphany or an inner realization that begins to shift everything externally for you. I feel like you're not just shifting in your career or your goals, but you're remembering who you truly are and what you came here to do. It's this realization that your career is a reflection of your higher calling, and that this awakening brings a sense of purpose and clarity and freedom from fear-based motivation. So maybe some of you here feel a sudden inner knowing about your true purpose, and this leads you to pivot into more aligned work. Maybe some of you here start attracting opportunities that reflect your authentic self and not who you thought you should be. Maybe some of you here become a guide or a mentor or a creator who helps others awaken through your message or through the stories that you share. Let's get some additional info here. We have Freedom, Sagittarius, Spirit, and this card says, releasing a bird to fly free. A wild bird soars on the air, limited only by its wingspan and the weather. Do you need to find bigger adventures or a new life philosophy? Are there limitations on your freedom that need to be acknowledged? So I think that freedom is the essence of like this entire reading for you, Pile 1. Sagittarius is the spirit of expansion and truth and exploration. And so your path ahead is about liberation. It's about releasing yourself from old structures and limitations and fears about success. I think that you're being called to design your life and your career on your own terms, Pile 1. Maybe this includes travel or creative entrepreneurship, maybe teaching or some sort of like digital independence. I feel like some of you here could transition to remote work or maybe build a business that lets you work from anywhere. I also see many of you here redefining what success means to you, where you choose fulfillment and flexibility and joy over external validation. And I also see many of you here feeling inspired to share your wisdom or your story with others through content or writing or teaching or whatever form of expression makes the most sense to you. So overall here, I feel like your career path is shifting from that feeling of effort and heaviness to more alignment and healing and freedom. You're anchoring into your body and your purpose. You're releasing old burdens. You're really awakening to a new way of working that sustains both your soul and your success. Let's roll some astro dice to get more info for Pile 1. We have Pluto in the second house. So at the time of this recording, this is the same week that Pluto has gone direct in the sign of Aquarius. And I don't think Pluto has been in Aquarius for a long time. I want to say, I think that this is kind of representative of like the age of Aquarius again. But let's dive into the astro dice. So I feel like with Pluto in the second house here, major shifts in your career are going to revolve around how you earn. It's going to revolve around your value and how you empower yourself financially. So in terms of what's shifting, I think that this is going to be a deep transformation of self-worth. You're no longer going to settle for things like underpaying or undervaluing roles. You're going to demand compensation that matches your power. I also think that you're going to be shedding old income sources, like maybe a job or a client or an income stream that feels draining or inauthentic. It could end, right? And maybe this makes sense for something more aligned. Maybe some of you here are going to be stepping into authority because you're learning to own your value and set stronger boundaries and take control of your money rather than letting it control you. Maybe some of you here will be building wealth through purpose. Maybe you're going to shift toward work that feels deeply personal or healing, like running your own business or spiritual services or something that transforms other people's lives. So I think that some of you here, again, could be like leaving a safe but stagnant job to grow your own brand or to monetize a passion that reflects your true worth. That's just one example. But yes, thank you so much, friends. Thank you for picking your card and tuning into this reading. Remember that these energies are here to guide you, so take what resonates and leave the rest. Comment below with what pile you chose and one word that describes your dream life energy. Let's claim it into the universe. If you felt this reading, remember to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who's manifesting abundance too. Your next level life is already unfolding, and all you need to do is say yes to it. If you feel like going deeper, I've got my private readings, my online shop, and my podcast all linked for you below in the description of this video. I am so honored to be connected with each and every one of you friends here, and I just want to point out that I do have a free angel number guide. So if you've been seeing like 111, 222, all of the repeating numbers, and you're wondering what it means for you, I created a free, quick and easy guide that you can use. It's like a digital PDF download. You can put it on your phone so that you can interpret the angel numbers that you see in live time. Visit the link in the description of this video if you feel called. Lots of love, Tidal fam. I will see you on the next video. Bye, friends. Love y'all. Hi, Pile 2. Hey, friends. Welcome to your reading. Let's first talk about the current energy. We'll talk about what's happening now, and we'll set the stage. Let's describe your current career vibe. We have the Ten of Swords here. This can often represent a dramatic ending or a moment of collapse. So maybe something in your career has reached its breaking point. Maybe this is a project or a mindset or a chapter that you feel simply cannot continue in its current form. It can also represent that rock bottom before the rise energy, where it could feel painful, but it's ultimately cleansing. I wonder if some of you here are mentally exhausted. Maybe some of you here have been through a betrayal, or you're feeling burnt out, or maybe disappointed. But this also marks a turning point. Once you stop fighting what's ended, you actually open up space for rebirth. And I feel like you've learned something crucial about your limits or your value or your truth. Now, this is not me saying by any means to spiritually bypass or to gaslight yourself or to, push your feelings down and not process them before you move on. Like, definitely do that. Reach out for help. Sometimes therapy, counseling, having somebody to speak to, a loved one to speak to, is helpful. But this is the card that reminds me of someone who might have just lost their job, or a client or an opportunity, something that feels devastating, but it's redirecting you to a more aligned path. I think that some of you here could be realizing that your current environment or your career model, for example, maybe it's like the corporate grind or overgiving to others, maybe those things no longer fit who you are. I think that many of you here are feeling emotionally drained from constantly pushing yourself, and maybe this moment of burnout is forcing you to rest or release or rebuild something from authenticity. We also have Akashic flow, tapping in, ancient library, awakening. So this is definitely a time of deep spiritual remembrance and reconnection for you. The Akashic flow here is asking you to tap into your inner knowing, the records of your soul, if you will. Because even though something is ending, you're not lost. You're being realigned with your soul's blueprint. So instead of searching for answers externally, you are meant to quiet the noise and access the guidance within you. I think that your intuitive knowing of what's next is something that's going to become very clear and like very well defined. And you're awakening to the realization that your purpose has always been within reach, and that you just needed to remember it, and that you just needed to close the doors that weren't serving you so that you could remember it. So for example, maybe some of you here have been feeling guided to meditate or journal or use tarot or oracle cards to reconnect with your true calling. Maybe some of you here could receive intuitive insights or dreams or synchronicities, or maybe even emotional clarity about your next steps or what's truly aligned for you. Maybe some of you here pivot your career towards something that feels more soulful or service-based, where you're guided by intuition rather than logic. Next, let's talk about the shift or change that's incoming. Let's reveal the upcoming movement or transition. We have the Lovers here, and this marks a powerful crossroads and realignment with your values pile too. This often comes up when there's an upcoming choice to be made, not just between paths, but also between the feeling of like fear and authenticity. So this shift is about you making decisions that are rooted in love, alignment with you, and your purpose, rather than any sort of like obligation or pressure. In your career, maybe this means that partnerships are forming, or new collaborations are coming in, or maybe you're going to be committing fully to a direction that really reflects who you've become. I think that the upcoming movement brings more heart connection and creative synergy and emotional honesty in your professional life. So for example, maybe some of you here might have to choose between staying in a safe but draining job versus following a passion-based opportunity. Or maybe for some of you here, a business partnership or a creative collaboration or a client connection could form something that's deeply aligned with your values and your vision. Maybe some of you here realize that your heart must lead your next career move, and you focus less on what makes sense and more on what feels right. We also have metamorphosis here, and so this is all about transformation at the deepest level. It reflects the butterfly phase. Everything that once defined you is changing form, and maybe this transition feels a bit uncomfortable or disorienting, but remember that it's bringing you closer to your true essence. So I think that this is absolutely fabulous. My kids have had this recent fascination with the life cycle of like the process of how a caterpillar transforms into a butterfly. They've seen it go from baby caterpillar to grown caterpillar to caterpillar that, you know, goes and gets ready to be in its cocoon, to actually forming the cocoon, to being in that gestation period, and then watching the butterfly be ready in its new form, and then eventually setting it free. So I think that this is maybe about you evolving your professional identity, how you see yourself, what you do, and why you do it. Pile 2, you're shedding an old persona or role to make space for a version of you that's more authentic and emotionally free. Maybe some of you here completely rebrand your business or shift industries to reflect who you've become, not who you used to be. Maybe some of you here experience a surge of creativity and inspiration as you let go of needing approval and you start expressing your true voice. Maybe some of you here step into a new phase of visibility where you show up more vulnerably or authentically in your work, which ultimately leads you to attract deeper resonance with others. Next, let's get some guidance. We'll talk about how to navigate the shift, and we'll get some actionable advice. We have the Page of Cups in reverse here. This is your reminder to not let disappointment or fear close your heart. This card can come up when self-doubt or emotional reactivity or creative blocks need attention. This is your guidance to reconnect with the feelings of curiosity and playfulness instead of guarding your heart against failure. This is you putting an end to suppressing your feelings or your intuition and instead using them as creative data. You have emotions that are guiding you toward healing and inspiration. And when the Page of Cups shows up in reverse, it can also talk about warning you against taking things too personally and really staying open to feedback and new experiences without self-criticism. So for example, maybe some of you here face rejection or creative stagnation, but instead of shutting down, you explore how you can express your ideas differently or from a new emotional angle. Maybe you're going to allow yourself to feel and process instead of numbing out. Maybe you'll be journaling, using art or voice notes to help you transform your emotion into inspiration. I also think that this could represent you reconnecting with your inner child's wonder, maybe approaching your career with curiosity again, even if you felt disillusioned or jaded. We also have drawing down the moon, knowledge. So I feel like this talks about hidden wisdom coming to light. This is all about channeling intuitive intelligence and emotional depth. Maybe you don't have all the answers yet, but your subconscious and your spiritual guidance are ultimately going to reveal what you need to know. And so this is the card that reminds us to keep doing that deep listening, keep reflecting, and really trust in the unseen, because the moon reveals the truth gradually, not all at once. And so the guidance here is to study your emotions and synchronicities because they carry divine information about your direction. Maybe some of you here could receive subtle signs, things like repeated symbols, things like angel numbers, repeating numbers, 111, 222, 333, 1111. By the way, if you are seeing those signs and you need help understanding what they mean in real time, I've created a free angel number guide. It's like a downloadable PDF. It's super short, sweet, simple, and easy to use, and you can put it on your phone, put it in your iBooks app if you have an iPhone, or you can put it in like your Kindle app if you have an Android. I do have that linked for you below in the description of this video if you feel called, and it just helps you to interpret the signs from the universe in real time. But going back to drawing down the moon, maybe some of you here are going to be using those signs or symbols or songs or coincidences to guide you toward your next project or opportunity. I can see many of you here feeling called to study astrology or tarot or psychology or anything that helps you better understand your soul's path and patterns. Many of you here also are going to be really fine-tuning your discernment, really practicing with it, and rather than reacting to confusion, you're going to give situations time to reveal their truth, kind of under the light of the moon. Let things reveal itself over time. Next, let's talk about the potential outcome and reward. We have death here. So death represents this profound rebirth and liberation. I love to disprove the tarot myths, and I think in all of the movies that we see tarot readers reading their cards, and when the death card pulls out, people are scared that they're gonna die, and it's like, no, that's not what the death card means. It means rebirth, it means transformation, it means that a cycle is ending so that something more authentic can begin. So this is not about loss, it's about transmutation. Pile 2, you are shedding old professional identities and fears and attachments that have kept you small. I feel like your outcome here promises things like renewal, emotional empowerment, and alignment. You're gonna feel like a different person on the other side, someone who's more self-assured, freer, and magnetically aligned with your purpose. And so you can completely reinvent your career. Maybe, again, you'll leave a job or end a business or shift into something more spiritually fulfilling. Maybe some of you here Maybe some of you here aren't going to fear change anymore. Maybe you're going to embrace it as a creative force, really trusting endings as a sign of expansion. Maybe some of you here will find peace in letting go. I think that you're not going to be chasing what doesn't align with you anymore, and you're going to be attracting what truly matches your evolved vibration at this point. We also have guidance, and so this confirms that you are being divinely led. This is a period where spiritual forces or ancestors or higher guides are here to offer you direction through intuition and dreams and synchronicity. Pile 2, you're not meant to navigate this transition alone and this transformation alone. This is your reminder that your next steps are already illuminated, and you just simply need to stay in tune with your higher self and trust the unfolding. Easier said than done, right? I can hear some of you saying that here. Maybe some of you here feel called to seek mentorship, something like a spiritual teacher, or really focusing on your inner guidance to help you clarify your direction. Maybe some of you here begin to rely on your intuition for business or career decisions, and you notice that it's leading you to success faster than logic ever did. Or maybe it's a mix of both. And maybe some of you here start collaborating with others who share your values, and you feel guided by this sense of this feels right instead of that like strategic reasoning. Let's get some additional info here. We have forgiveness, Scorpio, wisdom, and this one says a long exhale. Should we take a deep breath together, pile 2? Let's try it. If you feel called. You don't have to if you don't want to, but if you want to take a deep breath with me right now, in through the nose and out through the mouth. One more time, in through the nose. Hold it at the top, out through your mouth. You can be forceful when you're doing your exhale, I promise. One more time, in through the nose. Hold at the top. And exhale. Yeah. Sometimes all you need is like 3 deep breaths to feel a little bit more grounded. And you can do that throughout your day. I know it's kind of like feels dramatic when you're around other people, but maybe you can go to the bathroom or like take a step outside and just take a couple deep breaths. It is truly amazing how grounding it is, and I feel like we kind of like overlook and sleep on that. But it says a long exhale. Let go of the air in your lungs and exhale fully. What else are you ready to let go of? Once you set forgiveness in motion, you can stop focusing on the projected outcome of a situation and allow it to take its own course. This represents emotional release and karmic cleansing. Scorpio energy brings this deep healing through acknowledgement and forgiveness, and not necessarily like reconciliation or like needing to make up with people like that or be friends with them again, right? Like that's just one example, but this is like freedom from resentment or shame. So maybe this looks like forgiving others or yourself for past mistakes or rejections or detours, and this is something that's going to unlock your power. I feel like it's the final step before the rebirth fully anchors, and holding on to things that aren't serving you just keeps you tethered back to the old story. And so when you go through a practice of forgiveness, it really does liberate you and free you into a new phase and a new space. So maybe, for example, you release anger toward a past employer or a client or a collaborator who treated you unfairly, and you allow your energy to flow freely again. Maybe some of you here forgive yourself for the times that you didn't speak up, or you settled for less, or maybe you ignored your intuition. I can see many of you here even ritualizing letting go, maybe through journaling, burning old papers, maybe speaking words of release, maybe symbolically closing the chapter in some way. I just think that looking at all of the cards here, overall, your reading talked about deep soul transformation. Maybe you feel like the old version of your career is ending, but you now know that you're awakening to your true calling, and through emotional healing and intuition, you're going to be reborn, wiser, freer, and really guided by forgiveness and a higher purpose. Let's roll some astro dice and get more info for pile 2. We have the sun in the 12th house. I feel like what's shifting in your career is deeply tied to inner purpose, intuition, and healing from behind the scenes rather than chasing external validation. So in terms of what's transforming, I think that this talks about visibility versus retreat. Maybe you feel called to step back and reflect or work in solitude for a while. Not necessarily as a setback, but as preparation for a more aligned direction. Maybe this talks about purpose from the unseen. Maybe your best work comes through intuition or creativity or helping others heal. I can see many of you here having careers in spirituality, therapy, artistry, maybe even content creation that uplifts others. This is you letting go of old ego roles. I feel like you're releasing that need to perform or to prove yourself, and instead you're going to allow your authentic, compassionate self to guide your work. This is you serving through presence, because you're learning that your light shines brightest when you help others find peace and understanding and inspiration, even if your impact happens quietly. So one example, maybe you're transitioning from a public-facing, high-pressure role to a creative or healing-based business where you work intuitively and you feel spiritually fulfilled. Thank you so much, friends. Thank you for picking your card and tuning into this reading. Remember that these energies are here to guide you. Take what resonates and leave the rest. Comment below with what pile you chose and choose one word that describes your dream life energy. Let's claim it into the universe. If you felt this reading, remember to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who's manifesting abundance too. Your next level life is already unfolding, and all you have to do is say yes to it. If you feel like going deeper, I've got my free angel number guide, my private readings, my online shop, and my podcast all linked for you below in the description of this video. I'm so honored to be connected with each and every one of you friends here. Lots of love, Tidal fam. I will see you on the next video. Bye, friends. Love y'all. Hi, Pile 3. Hey, friends. Welcome to your reading. Let's first talk about the current energy. We'll talk about what's happening now. We'll set the stage and describe your current career vibe. We have the Two of Swords in reverse here. And I'm wondering if some of you have been maybe avoiding a decision or staying in mental limbo for longer than you want. And maybe that indecision is now creating more pressure than peace. Maybe some of you here are feeling mentally drained, unsure of what direction to take next in your career. Maybe you're torn between two conflicting choices, like, choosing your passion versus stability or independence versus teamwork. I think that this card is urging you to confront what you've been avoiding. This can also talk about clarity beginning to emerge for you. Maybe you're realizing that not deciding is a decision, and that fog will lift when you stop overthinking and when you start trusting your gut. Maybe some of you here are feeling stuck between staying at your current job or pursuing your own business or something else, and you finally admit that one path is no longer viable for you. Maybe some of you here are ending procrastination by taking small, concrete actions. Maybe something like updating your portfolio or submitting an application or finishing a half-done project. Maybe some of you here realize that the mental burnout is from trying to please others instead of tuning into what you truly want next. We also have elementals, dreamland lore, otherworld, and earth spirits. So this brings you a reminder to reconnect with simplicity, things like nature, things like imagination. I think that maybe some of you here have become too trapped in your head, and this is calling you back to the energy of play, of intuition, and the magic of the natural world. I think that the message here is to ground yourself through creativity and presence, because inspiration doesn't always come through logic. Sometimes it comes through daydreams or stillness or having contact with the earth. How many of you have had a brilliant idea when you were in the shower or when you were on a long hike or a long drive? Maybe some of you here would do well to take a break outdoors in some way to clear your mind. Again, hiking, grounding yourself barefoot, maybe walking around outside barefoot if it's safe outside. Or journaling under a tree, because I know there's going to be some of you here that's like, I don't have grass outside. I have concrete with a bunch of glass and litter all over it. And so, But anyway, I just think that this is about letting your imagination roam. It's about sketching and daydreaming or creating without agenda so that you can reconnect with joy and flow. Maybe this looks like you simplifying your work systems or workspace so that energy can move freely. Maybe this is you decluttering or burning incense or rearranging your desk so that you feel renewed. Next, let's talk about the shift or change that's incoming. Let's reveal your upcoming movement or transition. We have the Eight of Pentacles in reverse here. So this talks about a period of reevaluation. Maybe some of you here are questioning whether your current work is truly fulfilling or whether it's aligned with your path. This is not about laziness. This is more about feeling tired and fatigued and disconnected. Maybe some of you here have been working hard, but maybe you haven't seen the growth or the meaning that you expected. And so I feel like this shift pushes you to step back and ask, am I perfecting the wrong thing? Because you're being guided to refine your focus in some way. Maybe you want to stop overworking in areas that don't serve your long-term vision and really redirect your energy where it actually counts. I'll tell you an example. I share this story all the time on my channel. When I first started my content creation journey, I was spreading myself thin across multiple social media platforms. And I remember I would post to Instagram like multiple times a day, every day, and I wasn't really seeing a lot of traction there, like a little bit, but I wasn't seeing a ton. And once I focused on the platform that made sense to me intuitively, that I loved to create on, that brought me the most ROI, that's when everything changed. When I poured all of my energy and my focus into showing up consistently on YouTube and doing that right first, oh my God, it changed everything for me. Like with YouTube, I was actually seeing payouts through Google AdSense versus I was not seeing any payouts through Instagram. And that's not to say, like, maybe some of you here see success on Instagram, but maybe not on YouTube, or maybe both. But that's just an example of kind of refining your focus and really kind of putting all your time and your energy and your focus into that one thing and really seeing that blossom. So maybe for some of you here, you realize that you've outgrown your current craft or niche or method, and you feel drawn to evolve your skills or pivot directions in some way. Maybe some of you here notice that you've been doing busy work, constantly producing or managing, but not actually advancing your main goals, and maybe you ultimately decide to change that. I think some of you here, maybe you're feeling like you've hit like a creative plateau, and maybe this is time to pause and learn and realign your efforts with your soul's next chapter. We also have the key holder here, and so this represents unlocking your hidden potential and accessing new doorways of opportunity. So pile 3, you are being handed the key to something that was previously blocked, whether that's an idea or a realization or an opportunity. This shows you that once you stop forcing and once you start aligning, a new path is going to reveal itself. Remind yourself, pile 3, that you are your own key. Nobody else holds it for you. Maybe you're going to receive an unexpected offer or a client or a collaboration that feels like divine timing. Maybe something clicks after you've been feeling stagnant for a while. Maybe some of you here unlock a personal truth about your purpose, and this leads you to a shift in how you approach your work or your brand identity. I can see some of you here finally understanding the deeper reason for your struggles. Maybe you're realizing that they were guiding you towards things like mastery, or, maybe it's just redirecting you in the right way. Next, let's talk about guidance and how to navigate this shift. Let's get you some actionable advice. We have the 5 of Cups in reverse here, and so this is all about emotional recovery. It's about choosing to move forward. You are being guided to focus on what remains rather than what's been lost. When this card shows up in reverse, it can talk about a turning point. Pile 3, maybe you've grieved something like a disappointment or a past failure or maybe burnout, and now you're ready to rebuild with things like gratitude and resilience. So the advice here is to let the past inform you, but not define you. And this is your call to shift your emotional energy toward possibility instead of that feeling of regret. So for example, maybe some of you here start appreciating your current wins, like the clients who are supportive right now, the progress that you are making, and maybe you have built freedom in some way that you didn't have several years back. I think that rather than dwelling on what didn't work, you're going to start to focus on what is working, and that's something that's going to attract more abundance your way. Maybe some of you here consciously release guilt or comparison to others, and you allow space for motivation to return. Maybe some of you here are going to be using lessons from a past career mistake to strengthen your next move. Maybe you want to apply some sort of newfound wisdom to some sort of future decision that you're going to make. We also have Moonlit, Embrace Uncertainty. So this card is inviting you to trust the unknown. Not everything is meant to be clear right now, pile 3, and your path is going to be illuminated for you step by step, not all at once. So I feel like this is the card that asks you to surrender control and allow mystery to be your teacher. This lesson is having faith in your intuition and in your emotional intelligence, even when things like external validation or clarity are missing. The energy of the moonlight in general is soft. It's not blinding, and it's enough to keep walking forward one step at a time. So for example, maybe some of you here take inspired action even if you can't see the full outcome. Maybe that looks like launching an idea or applying for a position or reaching out to someone new. Maybe some of you here allow a creative project or a rebrand to evolve naturally without forcing a rigid plan. I can also see some of you here tracking your synchronicities or your intuitive nudges instead of constantly seeking logical proof of your progress. Next, let's talk about what the potential outcome is for you, and we'll talk about what the reward is. We have the World here. We love to see it because this signifies completion, mastery, and expansion. Pile 3, you are reaching the end of one significant chapter and you're preparing for a brand new cycle. I feel like the outcome here is going to bring you this really amazing sense of fulfillment, and not necessarily because everything's perfect, but because you've integrated your lessons and you found that inner sense of wholeness. So in your career, I feel like this is you leveling up. This is you getting recognition for your work, maybe reaching people globally or online, and aligning with your true professional identity. I feel like you're stepping into visibility and confidence, and that comes from experience, not ego. So pile 3, maybe you successfully complete a project or a cycle, maybe a course or a business launch or a creative era, and maybe you're ready to start something new on a higher level. I can see some of you here gaining public recognition, like I mentioned earlier, having some sort of growth in your audience, and really gaining this sense of professional credibility that validates the effort that you've been putting in for all this time. I can also see some of you here expanding internationally. Again, your work may be reaching lots of people online or connecting with a wider community of like-minded people who reflect that evolution. We also have sacrifice. This speaks about letting go of something so that you can gain something greater. Maybe you are going to release comfort zones or old habits or attachments to make space for your expansion. Pile 3, this isn't about loss. This is about investment. I think that you're learning the art of sacred discernment, choosing what truly deserves your energy. Maybe some of you here are going to reduce your workload. Maybe you're going to drop a draining client or decline an offer that doesn't align with your new direction. Maybe some of you here sacrifice your short-term stability to pursue long-term purpose. Maybe you take a risk that ultimately brings you more freedom. I can just see so many of you here releasing the need to control outcomes and really allowing space for your evolution to unfold organically. Let's get some additional info here. We have moon emotions, and this one says waves roll in day after day. Allow the flow of emotions to carry you, all the while trusting that you will make your way back to the shore. You are continuously responding to the moment you are in. Tune into your sensitivity and compassion. So pile 3, your emotions are your compass right now. Rather than resisting any sort of feelings of confusion or anxiety or hope or whatever you're feeling, this is your sign to use them as intuitive data. You have emotional tides that are showing you what's truly aligned and what's not. And so this energy reminds you that your sensitivity is a strength, and it keeps you in touch with the truth beyond logic. I think that this also brings hidden insights and creative downloads as you process what's been shifting for you. Maybe some of you here allow yourself to feel rather than suppressing emotion. Maybe you use journaling or creativity to translate those feelings into clarity. I just see so many of you here realizing that your emotional intelligence, your empathy, your compassion, your intuition is one of your greatest professional superpowers. Overall here, pile 3, I feel like this is marking a powerful shift and taking you from that feeling of mental confusion and overwork to emotional clarity and completion. This process involves you trusting the uncertainty and releasing any sort of regret and being willing to sacrifice a little bit of comfort for truth. And so the result here is you being at a level of emotional mastery, maturity, and really stepping into your next level of global or creative purpose. Let's roll some astro dice here to get more info for you. We have the South Node in the 11th house. So I feel like what's shifting in your career is your relationship to groups and audiences and external validation. I think that what's changing here is you releasing that people-pleasing in communities that you're in. So maybe you outgrow the need to fit in or follow the crowd professionally. This is your time to lead from your own vision instead of blending in. I also think that this is you letting go of collective pressure. Maybe you step back from group projects or social media metrics or external approval so that you can focus on your own personal purpose and fulfillment. I also see that this is you redefining success. You are shifting from chasing things like popularity or belonging to pursuing work that feels authentic and self-directed. This is you having maybe smaller but truer connections, and instead of serving everyone, you're actually aligning with a niche audience or an intimate community that truly resonates with your message. I'll give you one example. Maybe you move away from working on a team or maybe being in a social-driven role to focusing on solo creative work or entrepreneurship or that one-on-one impact that honors your individuality. Thank you so much, friends. Thank you for picking your card and tuning into this reading. Remember that these energies are here to guide you, so take what resonates and leave the rest. Comment below with what pile you chose and one word that describes your dream life energy. Let's claim it into the universe. If you felt this reading, remember to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who's manifesting abundance too. If you feel like going deeper, I've got my free angel number guide, my private readings, my online shop, and my podcast, all linked for you below in the description of this video. I'm so honored to be connected with each and every one of you friends here. Sending you lots of love, Tidal fam. I will see you on the next video. Bye, friends. Love y'all. Hi, pile 4. Hey, friends. Welcome to your reading. So let's first talk about the current energy. Let's talk about what's happening now. We'll set the stage and describe your current career vibe. We have the Empress in reverse here, and with this, maybe you're in a period where you're feeling like your natural creative energy, or maybe even your sense of abundance, feels blocked. This can often come up when you've been pouring out more than you receive. Maybe you've been overworking, caretaking, or creating without feeling the same level of fulfillment that you're giving out. So maybe some of you here have been dealing with this loss of self-worth or this disconnection from the joy of your craft. Maybe some of you here are feeling like you're producing just to keep up, not because you're inspired, and the universe is asking you to pause and reconnect with your own pleasure and your nourishment. So maybe some of you here have been posting or working consistently, but it started to feel like a chore instead of something that excites you. Or maybe some of you here keep saying yes to projects or collaborations even when they don't feel aligned, and this leaves you feeling drained. Maybe some of you here realize that your workspace or daily rhythm isn't nurturing, and it's time to bring beauty and rest or creativity back into your environment. We also have dive in, spontaneity, adventure, and intuitive jumps. This is all about you trusting your instincts and taking a leap. It's this antidote to that Empress in reverse. Instead of waiting for the perfect plan, this is asking you to take that inspired, imperfect action. This dive in energy is all about adventure and courage and you rediscovering your vitality by doing something new, even if it's small. Maybe some of you here launch a project or a video idea that you've been overthinking simply because it feels exciting. Maybe some of you here decide to try something out of your comfort zone, maybe a new creative niche or a pitch or a format. Maybe some of you here go on a short adventure or creative retreat to rekindle that sense of inspiration and to break that monotony. Next, let's talk about the shift or change that's incoming. We'll reveal the upcoming movement or transition for you. We have the Knight of Swords in reverse here, and so this is asking you to slow down and reassess your motives. Maybe some of you here have been feeling like you've been rushing or overcommitting or chasing goals out of anxiety rather than clarity. Maybe this is you pulling your energy back and refining your focus and being more mindful of why you're doing something before you start charging ahead again. So this is all about moving from reaction to reflection, really finding power in restraint. Maybe some of you here decide to stop multitasking and instead you give your full focus to one meaningful project. Maybe some of you here realize that you've been burning yourself out by pushing deadlines, so you take time to rest or plan more intentionally. Maybe some of you here resist the urge to compare your pace or success to others, and you remember that your alignment is greater than speed. We also have the Light Weaver here, and so this represents illumination and a higher understanding for you. You are entering a phase of deeper insight. You're seeing how your experiences, even when you go through setbacks, are weaving together into your purpose. This is also about being a conduit for light, sharing ideas, wisdom, or energy that really uplifts others. This is something that's going to help you find clarity and meaning in something that maybe once felt confusing. So for example, maybe some of you here realize that a challenge or a failure taught you exactly what kind of work or clients you're meant to align with. Maybe some of you here start expressing yourself more authentically online or in your creative projects and people respond positively. Or maybe some of you here embrace a mentoring, guiding, or a teaching role where you use your voice or your story to help others. Let's get some guidance on how to navigate this shift. We'll give you some actionable advice. We have the Emperor here. And so this is all about taking charge. The Emperor is about structure, discipline, and leadership. So it's time to establish your systems, Pile 4. Set your boundaries and confidently claim authority over your career path. The Empress in reverse here was about nurturing, and the Emperor here is bringing balance through order and through focus. So this means channeling your creative ideas into sustainable foundations. It's where creativity meets systems and organization and structure. Maybe some of you here create a consistent schedule or business system that keeps you accountable without burning out. Maybe some of you here start asserting your worth, where you negotiate pay or rates or partnerships with more confidence. I can also see many of you here investing in tools or education or systems that help you manage your growth effectively. We also have Cold Moon, Face Your Fears. So the cold moon here brings emotional courage. It asks you to confront the fears that surface when you start reclaiming your power. Maybe the fear of failure comes up, or the fear of rejection or success or visibility. This is shadow work energy. This is learning to operate even when you feel uncertain or afraid. This is all about your emotional honesty and resilience coming to life. So for example, maybe some of you here face the discomfort of being seen. Maybe like you have a fear of showing your face or your voice more boldly online or in your field. Maybe some of you here acknowledge your fear of letting go of old patterns or collaborators that no longer align with you anymore. Or maybe some of you here push through imposter syndrome by focusing on contribution rather than perfection. Next, let's talk about the potential outcome and the potential reward for you. We have the Four of Wands here. So the potential outcome here is something of celebration. This is something about harmony and you reaching some sort of happy milestone that comes after hard work. Maybe this is you experiencing a successful event, maybe a wedding, maybe an anniversary. This is a time of reunion and stability and belonging within a community or a family. I also see that this is you having that secure foundation for your future growth. And I also think that this is just gonna surround you with this general sense of contentment and peace and well-being. This is all about your prosperity, pile 4. We also have divine love here. And so this is the higher blessing behind the Four of Wands. It represents this unconditional love for what you do and who you are becoming. It's this reminder that your purpose is rooted in connection and joy and authenticity and not proving yourself. You are aligning your career with your heart and your values, which naturally attracts abundance and harmony. Maybe some of you here feel deep gratitude for your path, even if it's still unfolding. Maybe some of you here attract collaborators or clients or supporters who genuinely resonate with your message. And maybe you start to see your career as a spiritual partnership with the universe, really co-creating rather than forcing. Let's get some additional info here. We have nurture, Cancer, wisdom, and this one says spoon feeding a baby. Deliver care and encouragement to yourself and others. Nurture is showing love through action. Take initiative to support other people or focus on showing compassion to yourself. Either way, these nurturing actions will vitalize you. So I think that this reinforces the core lesson here. Nurture yourself first. Cancer energy is asking you to mother your dreams, to do things like protect your emotional well-being, and to really cultivate environments that support your long-term growth. Pile 4, you have this emotional state that is the soil of your success. And so you need to be sure to tend to it so that you can bring upon sustainable prosperity. Maybe some of you here establish some sort of daily self-care or grounding ritual that helps you stay centered. Maybe some of you here surround yourself with supportive people or remove yourself from draining environments. I also think that this is my pile that's learning how to take rest seriously, knowing that your energy and your creativity are going to thrive when you feel safe and nurtured and restored. Overall here, pile 4, I feel like you're shifting from that energy of overgiving and burnout into this beautiful phase of intuition and self-trust. You are releasing that rushed, chaotic energy and you're awakening to your purpose and your wisdom. I think that this is you embodying authority and courage and really receiving that stability and that love and that celebration, all while being supported by that self-nurturing energy. Let's roll some astro dice. Let's get more info for pile 4. Okay, we have the moon in the second house. So I feel like what's shifting in your career is connected to emotional security, money, and how you nurture stability. So there's this emotional tie to money here. And I think that you're becoming more aware of how your mood and your self-worth affect your earning power. Maybe you're learning to create income from a place of confidence and not fear. Maybe some of you here crave stability. Maybe you seek consistent, emotionally fulfilling work that feels safe and dependable rather than chaotic or unpredictable things. I think that this is all about you intuitively managing your money, maybe developing a natural instinct for when to save, when to invest, or when to take, calculated financial risks. I also think that this talks about like your self-worth equaling your net worth. Like as you nurture yourself more deeply, your finances are going to begin to reflect that inner value. So I'll give you one example. Maybe you shift from undercharging or overworking to creating this steady income through something emotionally meaningful, like turning your passion or your care-based work into some sort of sustainable business. That's just one example, but I just like to throw some ideas out there. Thank you so much, friends. Thank you for picking your card. and tuning into this reading. Remember that these energies are here to guide you, so take what resonates and leave the rest. Comment below with what pile you chose and one word that describes your dream life. Let's claim it into the universe. Remember to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who's manifesting abundance too. If you feel like going deeper, I've got my free angel number guide, my private readings, my online shop, and my podcast all linked for you below in the description of this video. I'm so honored to be connected with each and every one of you friends here. Sending you lots of love, Tidal fam. I will see you on the next video. Bye friends. Love y'all.